One of the questions that we always face around is because, you know, the world is 70 to 75% water and, already filled of oceans. And we as humans and some of the animals which stay on land. So, what is the exact big deal with the oceans? Why should we exactly bother about the oceans, considering that we stay on the land?
Yeah, so I mean, that's a good point there. But there are many reasons actually. So, firstly, the oceans have a huge biodiversity beyond our imagination. There's so many beautiful species living there, and we are completely unaware of it. The other thing is the climate change is hitting us hard, right? We know that. And the oceans, the oceanic currents, what they do is they help in transferring the heat from hotter areas to the cooler areas. So they kind of mitigate the climate change. But they have a far more important role to play. Now, when we talk of, say, the rainforests, in the Amazon and things, we know we call them the lungs of the planet because we know that trees take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen, and that is all required, and we are all against cutting down of trees. But the fact is that these trees contribute to less than 30% of the oxygen that is given back. More than 71% oxygen comes from the oceans. Now, there are these small phytoplanktons, the small plants floating around in the oceans, which absorb carbon dioxide. As much as one-fourth of the carbon dioxide is absorbed by these plants and oxygen is given out. So they are the ones that are really giving us the oxygen back. So thanks to the oceans, we are able to breathe and stay alive.
Absolutely, great one, doctor, from this. But what is, the major question might be, what is exactly damaging the oceans? What can be the factors, and why should we be concerned about the oceans?
So like I said, the climate change is there and carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere are increasing. We know all that. Now, this carbon dioxide, when it gets absorbed in the oceans, it causes what is known as acidification of the oceans. So the pH level changes. Now, because of that, these phytoplanktons are dying. Now, as they go on dying, they absorb less carbon dioxide, give out less oxygen. So the carbon dioxide levels are rising further and more phytoplanktons are dying. So it is becoming a vicious cycle. And once these phytoplanktons die, then the marine life in the ocean is also going to go extinct, and we will have more and more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and more climate change disasters.
Connected with our diet, do you think that this can damage our current lifestyle and diet as well?
Uh, so it's the other way around. It's our diet which is damaging all this, right? Well, the obvious connection is when we talk of fishing, right? We know that oceans have fish and that we eat fish, but when we think of fishing, we think of somebody sitting on the bank throwing one fish line and catching a fish, but that's not how the world works. We kill 3 trillion fish every year. Okay, so just in 15 minutes that this session is going to go on for, we would have killed 10 crore fish all over the world. That is how fast the fish are getting killed. And this is done by a process called as trawling, where boats drag huge nets. Okay, these nets are the height of 3-story building and the width of a football field. That side fish nets are dragged across the ocean bed, and they take everything that comes along with it into the net and completely destroying that. In 1 year, seabed, the six times size of India, is destroyed in this way. That is how this fishing is going on. And 90% of all marine fish stocks are currently fully exploited. And 40% of the fish that are caught in these nets are bycatch. By bycatch means they are just killed and not consumed also. So there's a lot of wastage happening and extreme damage is happening because of fishing to the oceans.
Great one, doctor. So, but do you think, because when it comes to damaging the ocean life, um, plastic waste is also a great contributor to this, as compared to, what we discussed?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, plastic is a big problem because it doesn't disintegrate. It stays there for years and years and years. And which is why we are told that, don't use plastic straws, don't use plastic bags, which is all fine. Because whatever plastic is being dumped into the oceans, because of the oceanic currents, it is getting accumulated in certain areas, which we are not able to see. They are far in the central of, say, Pacific Ocean. In the Pacific Ocean, there are 5 huge patches of garbage just collected there. A single patch there, it's called the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, one patch is the size half of India. That big patch of garbage is lying in the Pacific Ocean. And what we don't know is that 80% of that plastic is fishing nets. So these are broken down nets of fishing which are just thrown away into the ocean. And this is known as ghost gear. So it just lies over there releasing microplastics, and the animals there get randomly caught, marine animals get caught in the gear, and they die a miserable death. And these same microplastics are consumed by small fish, and then they consumed by bigger fish, and then when we consume, the microplastics are entering our body as well. So the fishing gear is also a very important factor as far as damaging plastics is concerned.
Definitely, it seems to be like a global problem that we have right now, and it is very obvious that fishing is damaging the oceans in a very big way. But how does eating non-veg foods like beef, pork, mutton, or chicken can damage the oceans? This is like one of the questions that we came across.
Yeah, so I mean, the obvious link is not there, but we have to understand that there are 8 billion humans on this planet, which is a lot. But every year, we humans consume 100 billion animals on land. So, and these animals are basically artificially created on this planet. See, they are not naturally born on this planet. They are artificially created so that we can consume them for our taste requirements. And the very fact that they exist on the planet, they are going to breathe, they are going to eat food, water, they're going to create waste, excreta, right? Huge amounts of greenhouse gases are released. They consume 8 times more water than what humans consume. They eat 6 times more food than what humans eat. And they create 130 times more excreta, waste, than what humans produce. In fact, the amount of excreta produced by these animals is so much that in 2 days' time, it can cover the entire of Mumbai. But we don't see this excreta because all of this is dumped into the oceans. And these oceans, when they get all this excreta, they create dead zones, zones where there is no oxygen and no marine life can survive. And these dead zones are just spreading across from the coastal areas into the oceans. And that is how even producing animals on the land is causing destruction of the oceans.
At least when we compare the regional regional zones of the globe, I think like considering India, that we don't consume lot of beef and pork, especially in the non-veg category. So do you think, is this maybe like a Western issue, or does this come from the West?
So, this is a common thought which goes that, India is much better off than the West. But while it's true that meat consumption in India is less, we should not forget that India is the #1 producer and consumer of dairy. Okay, dairy milk comes from cows and buffaloes. India has 1/3 of the world's cattle. 30 crore cattle India has. And cattle are the ones that create the maximum waste, the maximum greenhouse gases, and they require the most amount of resources as far as food and water is concerned. Right? And we have to understand that dairy and beef industry basically go hand in hand. 44% of the world's beef comes from dairy cows. 100% of India's beef comes from dairy industry. India, there are no beef farms separately, but all the dairy animals are then exported as beef. And India is #2 country in the world as far as beef exports is concerned. Even though our beef consumption is less, we are exporting a lot of beef, and all that is coming from the dairy. So if we support the dairy industry, then we are supporting the beef industry and all the damage that comes along with it.
So definitely, while we are speaking regarding the consumption about these foods, so do you think that isn't non-veg food, or isn't like non-veg very, very necessary for our survival?
Well, that's unfortunately a big myth, and it is certainly helped a lot by the meat and dairy industry, and they have kept this thing going that you require the protein and this and that all for you. But you have to understand that everything is available in a plant-based diet. It is not deficient in any way, and there are enough nutritional guidelines and enough nutritional bodies which have certified that a whole food plant-based diet is a perfect diet for all ages and all stages of life. And while we can, discussing studies and all is a huge topic in itself, but you have to understand that even the topmost athletes, right, whether sportsmen or runners or even bodybuilders, all there are many who are plant based. So if you compare their requirements to our requirements, I mean, if they can meet their requirements and excel at their sports, then why can't we? So I mean, I have been on a plant-based diet for past 5 years, and honestly, I've never felt more fit than what I am right now. So I'm not even saying that you think it is superior. Forget that. Even if it is at par, it is still worth going in for this kind of a diet because it is the most sustainable.
We've actually seen your progress and I've been through your PPTs, which are really in the trend, and people do want to, watch that all over again and again. But one of the questions which I, came up with, while I was speaking to someone is, like regions like Antarctica, where, there is no access of food. Might be I'm wrong, maybe there are, more research is upcoming on that thing, but definitely from a basic sense point of view, when in Antarctica where there is only access of fish and not food. So how is this going to affect them and basically the people of Antarctica?
So we have to understand now. This is a very common argument which is placed by those who are looking for excuses not to change their diet. See, we are not in Antarctica, right? That's the first thing. When there is a question of survival, then these principles and logic and nothing applies. If you have to survive, you have to eat what you get. Like you can't force something on a poor person who doesn't have any means to decide what, doesn't have the choice. Whatever that person gets, they're going to eat. But I'm talking of people like you and I who are in a privileged position. We don't go and hunt animals. We go to a supermarket and we buy stuff. Now we have all the variety at our disposal. In that case, why not choose the most sustainable diet? Why not? You have a choice. You use that choice, make the right choice. You know what harm the animal industry is doing. In that case, why not? Why support them? Why not go for something plant-based?
So on this, doctor, what can be the practical tips that you can give to me and the audience, who wish to turn into a plant-based diet?
See, if you look at it, our basic diet, like roti, sabji, dal, chawal, it is all plant-based only, right? You have salads, you have nuts, you have seeds. So all these things are plant-based. Uh, and if you just stick to that, you are good enough. Avoid any processed foods, avoid eating from packets, which has become a very big trend. We always have these packets stacked in our house, and whenever we feel like it, we open it. Don't do that. Prepare fresh food and eat that fresh food. The problem comes with taste. We are used to the taste of dairy, we are used to the taste of non-veg, and that is why a vegan market, so-called, is coming up. Okay, where they are trying to create alternatives, like a milk alternative, like a chicken alternative, like a mutton, whatever. But this is, you have to understand, is solely for the transition purpose of those who cannot adjust to the taste initially. But let me tell you, you give 3 months time and anybody's taste buds can be changed. Okay. Like now I don't even remember what chicken used to taste like, what mutton used to taste like, or for that matter, what dairy or ice creams used to taste. There are vegan ice creams also you can have. You have vegan pizzas and you have all kinds of stuff which is plant-based. They're not necessarily healthy, but they can give you the taste that you require once in a while if you want to have. And luckily, where we stay, we have a lot of options available and we can follow those. And for 3 months, I would say just give it a try, and I'm sure you will see the difference.
Definitely, doctor, and it's definitely a very like good commitment towards saving the conditions like of the oceans and the planet. But like, can just changing our diet really make a difference to to the condition of the oceans? And is this really happening now?
The United Nations has clearly stated that the single most change one person can do in their life in order to stop the climate change is change their diet to a plant-based diet. Okay, it is far bigger than, say, driving an electric car or reducing your number of flights that you take. So these are small things which are, people give more importance to that, but nobody considers what is going in their food and what are the implications of eating animal products. Because by quitting animal products, we not only prevent water pollution, we save the oceans, we stop deforestation. uh, as a result, we reduce the species loss. We can even tackle food and water shortage, because the food for us is being given to the animals. There's a lot of food wastage going on in that. All this while improving our own health, because it has health benefits also. In fact, it has been shown that a plant-based diet is the best option to tackle malnutrition and reverse obesity rates. Okay, and finally, somewhere down, you have to take a holistic approach. We are massacring trillions of sentient animals. These are animals who have the ability to love and suffer just as much as you and I can. If you see a dog on the street being hit by somebody, thousands will come up and speak against that brutality. That how can you hit an innocent animal? Yet every day, 9 lakh cows are slaughtered. Okay, 1.6 lakh pigs are killed every hour. 1.3 lakh goats are killed every hour. 1.6 chicken are killed every minute, and 1 lakh fish are killed every second. That is the magnitude of killing that is happening across the planet. Even the egg industry, the males have no role. So male chicks, 7 lakh chicks are killed every hour on this planet just to give us eggs. And dairy, we all know male calves have no role in the dairy industry. They are also slaughtered. In fact, the ratio of buffaloes in India, male to female ratio, is 1:11. So you can, which is ideally supposed to be 1:1, but it's 1:2. For every female buffalo that is there, 10 male buffaloes have been killed. So that is the magnitude that is happening. So, I mean, and we are bringing these animals of our own free will into this world and making them suffer. If we just stop that, we have enough resources on this planet to sustain 8 billion people.
Absolutely, doctor. And very hard to think about this, where the animals are killed just to satisfy the human taste. That's all I can say. I think there was one question from the audience in the chat. Maybe we can take this now, or you want to maybe
I am not
send
able
this as
to
an
see that. Can you
uh,
just read it out?
yeah, 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 I will. So this is from Sushant Wag 1023. The question is, why is the excreta not used as fertilizer in the landfills?
So, see, like I told you, the amount of excreta that is created by these animals is huge, humongous. In 2 days' time, entire Mumbai is going to get covered. Who is going to use so much of fertilizer? We don't need that much of fertilizer. So you can, maybe 1%, 2% of this excreta can be used, but the rest has to be thrown somewhere. And the easiest way is the oceans, because nobody sees there. Nobody can make out what is happening. If you throw it on a landfill or somewhere, it will start stinking and then people will start complaining. But throwing in the oceans is very convenient, because the damage is not immediately apparent. Like all these killings of animals which are happening don't happen in our sight. They are happening somewhere behind closed walls in the slaughterhouses. So people don't come and crib and make a big hoo-ha about it. So whatever is can be done secretly is being done. So throwing into the oceans or rivers or lakes is the easiest option.
Got it. If anyone has any questions, they can just shoot us on the DM or the comments right now. So we'll be happy to answer that. And lastly, what message do you want to give to the current audience? As you know, this is completely going to be recorded, so we have got this one shot to, display that one last message that we want to give to the audience.
Well, I would just urge everybody to just think for themselves, whether their heart agrees to a diet that depends on so much cruelty. An animal products diet is a lot of cruelty. Whether your heart agrees and whether you are okay to be a part of it and even contribute to it, that's the first question. And also whether your mind agrees to a diet that is causing so much damage to our oceans, to our planet, and it's actually leading to our own extinction. We are probably in the midst of the sixth mass extinction. That is what this whole diet has led to. In fact, ours might be the last generation that can do something about this in trying to stop the climate change. Our next generation may not have that luxury. And no other single change will give you so much power, to save water, to save food, to save forests, to stop greenhouse gases. That just change in the diet, choose something else. Let's do it for the animals, let's do it for the planet, let's do it for our own health. At the very least, let's do it for our own children. Let us leave the world in a better shape than when we found it. I think that's the least that we owe it to them.
Absolutely, doctor. And definitely, we should have more talks like this. Definitely, taking the feedback from the audience, we will come up with more such short webinars on, plant-based diet and more relevant topics that we have. But thank you so much, doctor, for joining this talk, and we will come up with more such talks.
My pleasure.
And hoping to have more learnings from you as always.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you, doctor.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.